A person is asking about certain information about the work with the colors for balancing people. If the colors that are applied, if they cause an effect, and this is very well known. Now, the greatest balance that we can receive is with the treatment of our own aura. Our own aura, which is our vitality, etheric, astral, and mental, that can also absorb spiritual vibrations, and this produces a radiation. And the colors of this radiation is what we work on. This is, rather than projecting the colors in an artificial way over a person, we treat the person so that the person can change its own colors, so that the colors can be healthier, more vital. Because if we project the colors over the people as we normally do, if we place a person under colorful lights, this can produce a certain effect, but in truth, it's not changing the person. It's not changing the color that the person radiates. It can fill a gap. It can resolve a certain problem in a temporary way. But the radiation of the person will not change. So we work on the aura of the person. We're going to help the person to change its own radiation. Because in the aura, in our etheric radiation, astral, mental, is in this aura is where all the elements for our health are. We don't change the colors of our aura that influence and heal only with our own will. We need to be under a superior influence. We need to be under a higher radiation of a different level of our own being. You have read in the New Testament, when Peter would pass by, his shadow would heal people. So the shadow there does not mean his material shadow. It means his aura, Peter's aura. When Peter will pass by, his aura that had a determined color, a certain color, will heal. So this is very important. A very developed aura. It's important that we have this emanation that is around us, that reaches others. This, what changes an environment, it's good that it's healthy, colorful. And as we say, it's not as imposing or projecting in an artificial way on our aura or our body that we're going to reach this in a permanent way. But it's through our communication with our day-to-day living with more subtle energies and with more subtle planes of consciousness. The more developed auras, the auras that are healers, the auras that actually render a service, are the auras that contain the green color. When we emanate green, the green of our aura, this influences in a beneficial way other people. The green color, of course, we're not going to paint our aura green, but the green of the aura, which is extremely healing, comes from our having reached, we have dominated with a lot of joy, with a lot of positive feelings, the situations in which we offer to serve, situations in which we self-sacrifice, in those situations in which we renounce things for ourselves in benefit of others. So this produces a green in our aura. And this is one of the strongest auras for service in healing. The auras with the ruby color also are very important in the service of healing. The ruby color happens in our aura. We take that color on when we are very selfless in the spiritual path. When we make the spiritual path with a lot of selflessness, when we surrender, when we do it with integrity, when nothing is too hard for us, as a summary, is when we are selfless in this path. So these auras are very developed. The green, that dominates all situations in which we have difficulties, but it's not a domain that is a forceful domain. It's a simple domain. It's a natural domain. We accept in a simple way. We don't get ruffled because of any situation that demands effort. And this selflessness in the spiritual realization, in this spiritual walking, then the green and the ruby color mix in our aura or even act separately. A part of the aura remains green and another part remains ruby, and this works by itself. So you don't need to do anything. Where you go by, the energy of healing is radiating. The energy of healing is applied, is reaching others who are in need. So there's also a type of aura that can be achieved when we adapt, when we are well in a situation, in certain conditions of life. So when we don't get used to a certain condition of life. Because if that condition of life changes, then we are sad. This has an influence on our auras. So if a condition of life is good for you and suddenly it changes, you don't have to change because of it. You need to adapt to that new condition. You would need to not to place any resistances for that new condition, and then you will have a tricolor aura, which is a very strong aura, which is a very positive aura. It's green, silver, and yellow. When these three colors work together in the aura, they can produce something like light and fire in the aura, as if it was a flame of three colors at the same time. And this is very strong, very beneficial. But this, see, if we have a certain condition and suddenly it changes for whatever reason, we would have to have no fault because of this. We should not move, we should not change because of this. We need to adapt. We need to simply adapt to the new condition. And then you have these three colors in your aura. These three colors will transform into a flame, into a fire, and will produce more profound healings. Well, the positive tension, when we are attentive, we are positively tense, not because we're nervous, or tense because we are worried. When we are tense because we are attentive to a situation, when we're firm, we are attentive to all details of that situation, and we're firm there, then our aura becomes purple. And this purple color starts getting refined. It starts getting every time more delicate. And the more delicate that it reaches, then it produces very profound effects. But this is the result of the state of attention, the state of tension, so that you don't lose that of that level of quality in your radiation. And also because of your acumen, because you're not sleeping in front of anything. You're always perceptive, always attentive, always perceiving, not getting distracted, not getting and not realizing what's going on or what's going through, but you're very acumen, very attentive, but at the same time, very refined with what your thoughts are emanating. So you're very attentive to everything that happens, but your thought is always positive. Your thought is always refined. It's light, not dense, not in a very concrete, material dense. No, you are in contact with everything that happens, no matter what it is, but you are able to reach your mind very fluid and very light. And this brings a purple color to your aura, which is one of the most healing, one of the most beneficial that you can have. So we need to cultivate these states of consciousnesses. We should be very attentive in that which is our adaptation, in the way that we greet the different conditions of life. Because then the conditions of life and the vibrations of the world, the vibrations of the situations will not influence our colors, will not introduce into our aura new colors, but they will produce the colors, the green, silver, yellow, and others that form the group of balm that are very beneficial in their radiation. And the domain of situations in which we are, in our understanding, self-sacrificing. What happens a lot, because the needs of the world are so many, that those who serve are always in the need of being sacrificed in some way, because that's what they are supplying in the whole. We need to be over these situations. We need to find ourselves well, be normal in any situation, so that we can have an aura in this way. When our aura reaches a blue color, which is the result of a synthesis of all these attitudes, our behaviors, when our aura reaches that blue color, the energy of our soul can work more on our aura. The energy of our aura can emanate certain rays, can emanate certain impulses over that blue in a way that it can transform in the needed color to deal with certain situations. So there's a state of our aura, there's a color of our aura that is made by us, by our attitudes, is the result of our attitudes. But if that color reaches a certain level of quality, then the soul can send impulses, can send rays, and the aura becomes more than just a radiation of our states of personality, mental, emotional, and physical etheric. The aura can also count on the impulses of the soul that will change the color of the aura, and it would be a very special color with a very special quality. So we already had seen in previous meetings various informations about the colors, but not in this way. We saw the application of the colors, the value of the colors, and we even spoke about to the application of lights in certain treatments, and we applied in certain procedures, we applied colors with wipes, with colorful lights. We did certain experiences. But now we are entering these things of colors. We are putting the colors in our practice of health. So now we are making our own colors. We work in our aura, we work on our radiation and emanation in a way that we don't need to apply colors on anybody. Just so that you reach somebody, somebody's close to you, and that person will already be receiving an application of colors. The person will be in touch with the colors without nobody speaking about colors, nobody commenting about colors. There's no colors in the therapy room. Everything is real. That is in the reality, on the body of the people, in the emanation, in the radiation of the people. And this is what we are trying to work now. This is what we're presenting as a challenge for all of us. Repeating, this is a training that is a very conscious training in front of any situation in life, any situation that presents. Our emanation should not get altered. Our vibration should proceed as it is. It should not be invaded by impulses that come from outside. And we need to be very natural, very well, in situations that could even bring us difficulties, that could actually demand from us, that could ask from us some efforts. So we need to be very selfless, the surrender, the acceptance in this path of spiritual realization, no matter what happens, because we are being worked in many levels, in many ways. But this should not affect our aura, because we work with our aura in this physical plane. It's with this emanation of our bodies that we reach others. And so, as the more our aura is healthy and ordered and is vitalized through all this, through our attitudes and postures in life, the more it is well, then it's more available and irradiates more and goes further, because our aura can also reach a certain area, certain meters, but there are auras that can reach kilometers. There are auras that reach large spaces. You should have read or heard experiences from people that were going to meet holy people, or that were going to find great healers. Several kilometers before reaching that place, they could feel the aura of the person. They were inside the aura of the individual. And this aura is not only the physical, etheric that we're describing. With time, the soul of the individual can also acquire this power. So, before you enter the etheric aura of a person, before you enter that aura, you enter in a more subtle radiation of that person, which reaches a further distance. So, in practice, we can work the distance if our aura, if this mechanism of energies in our bodies are united to the radiation of our soul, united to these forces that our soul also radiates. Now, the soul only starts radiating in these planes or close to these planes when the aura of the bodies is the beginning of a vehicle for her. So the aura of the bodies reaches a certain point, and if the service allows it, or it needs to go further, then the soul introduces the aura, its own aura into it, its own emanations into it. And the other person is going to receive it in an etheric way, not in our etheric, but in the planetary ethos. It's projected into the planetary ethos and is conduced by the soul of the person who's working. This is a learning for us. And we can observe if we are in a good path in this matter. We can observe if we can reach a person, if we can come close to a person, and if that person starts feeling well without you doing nothing. If you reach a person when the person stands, then you're doing nothing. You're just there. And the situation starts getting calmer. The person starts feeling better. If you come into an environment that is charged, that is psychically disordered, and you come in and that place starts changing, this is the aura. This is the work of the aura, of who came in that place. And to this, we can also add the work of the soul of the individual that has more profound effects. So this work with colors would not be our proposal at this time, that we passively just receive colors, colorful lights or colorful wipes. This is all very important, it's very useful to paint the colors, paint the walls. It's very real, but this is not enough anymore. We need to transform into an instrument so that the colors can work. We are the creator of the colors in our aura. Our radiation, our energy is colorful. What we emanate is colorful. So rather than being concerned about painting walls or painting or trying to find lights and trying to find clothes, colorful clothes, we need to be that radiation. We need to be that instrument. So wherever we reach, we can apply the color that is needed there. Of course, this is invisible. This is not concrete or visible here. Only maybe in certain moments where etherically something can be perceived. But this selflessness to everything that we can learn, and our dedication to all this work in the service field can change the colors in our aura, can purify, can make it subtle, and transform it in a vehicle that is a healing vehicle. Now, that thing about being very attentive always understanding, and at the same time trying to keep our thought pure, refining our thoughts, to keep our thoughts light, not projecting dense forms or emanating ideas that are human and gross, but that we keep our thoughts elevated. An elevated thought means that our mind is radiating soft waves, pure waves, very delicate waves. This is what an elevated thought means, is what you're thinking, and it produces something that your mind is going to emanate like a wave. So this forms your aura. This forms the color of your aura. And we do not need to see the colors, but we will see our state according to what we produce in others. So what happens to others when we come close to them? What happens to the environment when we come in? What happens to the situation when you start dealing with it? When you start working with that situation? Then you will see what your aura is emanating. Then you will perceive what is truly happening with this external part of your bodies, with this energetic circle that is being formed around you. This is simpler and much more effective because then we don't need to be looking after the colors by themselves. Because if we start searching for a color to treat a person, that material color that we are applying there is not the same in the subtle planes. So you can imagine, or you can even perceive that a person needs blue, for example, that a person needs a blue color, a blue tone, to resolve something in his own bodies. And then you perceive in an intuitive way, but if you apply a physical blue, the physical blue is not the same as the subtle blue. It's not the blue in the inner planes. It's not the blue that your aura projects. Your aura projects a blue of a different quality that we don't even know if it's the same blue that we see here. So those projections of colors in an artificial way, they have a certain result. They do have a result, but it's not the same as if you are the color, as if the color is the one that you radiate, because then you have a lot of wisdom by the soul of the individuals that are involved, and you have a lot of wisdom in the constitution of the etherical body. Our etheric body, united to the etheric body of the other who's in need, our etheric body with that perception changes also the tone of what's radiating. So our etheric body regulates that color together with the other person. So the application of that color in that way, in a natural way, very consciously, that application will have a much more effective result. It's not approximated like at the same as if you project a material color. That, I repeat, it can work, but it's not the same. Does not have the same power. Yesterday, we were talking about the work of the soul and the work of the monad. And today, a person is asking a question in these regards. Because yesterday we said that our will would need to be united with the will of the hierarchy, that we should be working united with the hierarchy. The hierarchy, as we know, are the consciousnesses that transcended material evolution, that integrated themselves in a larger service, and the evolution of those beings is not the material evolution anymore. The hierarchy evolves in immaterial levels. So those consciousnesses that are hierarchies that function in immaterial levels, they assume the evolutive work that is needed in a certain moment, in a certain period, in a certain stage of life, because these hierarchies, they function with superior laws, not only with the laws of the earth. So the hierarchy functions through higher laws, and therefore the working field is larger. And for us to have a larger field beyond the human stage, we need to be united to the hierarchy. We need to be collaborating with the hierarchy, because then our strength, our energy, our service is channeled by those paths that the hierarchy uses to resolve larger problems. So we need to become conscious if we want or not to collaborate in this larger work. We need to bring that consciousness to ask if this is our path now, and then offer ourselves to the hierarchy so that eventually, and if necessary, and if it's appropriate for our evolution, we could become and get introduced in this hierarchical work. So it needs to become conscious of that this work exists, and the hierarchy needs incarnated monads like us as channels so that this work is not just on a level of the hierarchy, but also that it comes down here and flows down here through us as channels, so that this work can start happening on these planes, on those more material planes. So we need to start learning to coordinate our actions. Coordinate our actions is nothing of what we think normally. Coordinate our actions, spiritually speaking, means that you unite your own free will, your own capacity to choose with that which is the purpose that the hierarchy is working on. So you coordinate your actions, you have a coordinated action when your own free will, that part of yourself that chooses, that makes decisions, united to the will of the hierarchy, to the move that the hierarchy represents, then you coordinate your action. Our action is not coordinated in our bodies. Our action is coordinated with the higher levels when your own free will, when your capacity of choosing is refined, is coordinated with that which the hierarchy is doing. You don't have to adapt. You don't have to sacrifice with this. Your own free will is so refined with that your action is coordinated. Your action is important. It can become a vehicle of the action of the hierarchy. The hierarchy can work through your monad, through your soul, and of course, through your vehicles as well, because your action is coordinated. The fact that our free will be coordinated with this does not mean that we lose our freedom. It has nothing to do with our concept of freedom. It has nothing to do with our concept of coordinated action. So it starts to flow in such a way that by you doing something as a channel of another force, you are completely free. And your intention, your consciousness, your disposition coincides with this totally. So there is no effort, there is no aggression, that coincides. This is a coordinated action that we need to reach to be truly useful. So then the monad starts flowing and the monad starts working for humanity. In this stage, when the monad finds in us, in your soul, in your thought, in your mind, and astral and etheric and the physical etheric, when it finds its channel through which it can flow, through which it can work, through which it can serve and heal, then the monad starts forming and building the body of light. The formation and our body of light starts getting more mature, which is the vehicle that we use in a spiritual level. Because all this work of coordination that we do is a work so that we can serve from the mental to the physical. But when we serve from the mental to the higher levels, we need the body of light. And the body of light starts getting informed by this higher service, for this superior service, after this coordination has been done. And after this service of the monad is flowing through the different planes. When the monad starts creating and starts fortifying or energizing the body of light, with this light, we can participate in works, what we call the work with the ships. This is the way, this is the body that we have, this is the structure that we have, to have that type of work that we call ships. And of course, we won't start immediately working as a ship ourselves, because a ship is the produce of our is the product of our consciousness, is formed by our consciousness, is created by our consciousness, in which the body of light, the monad, and other structures are inside, other structures that we don't even know on Earth. But we start by forming this ship. This body of light is the start, is the first stage of us forming this ship. This is what we call ship from our point of view, not from the point of view of the extraterrestrial brothers that have other constitutions, but those who form their own ship, the ones that are predestined to work with ships, to be their own ship, this is the beginning of the process. The body of light that has a material, that has the possibility to be guided by the monad and by the hierarchies, and you start forming the body of light. And so we function first as soul, then we function as body of light, and then when all of that is well organized, when all of this is linked together and everything is working well united with the hierarchies, then the construction of the ship starts. And as a symbol, as light, you can reach further. And inside this ship, you can embrace other beings. Inside this ship, you can receive others who will eventually need treatment, help, instruction, and forming their own ships. But during this process, we as consciousness are taken to the ships. We, our consciousnesses, are taken to these experiences. And so a person who had an experience in a very conscious way inside a certain ship where she was receiving instructions, she found 2 or 3 people of this group. This situation is conscious up to a certain point. So we can be conscious that we are in a ship. We can be conscious that we also have other beings inside this ship, inside this light, inside this consciousness, forming their own body of service, their own ship. Because a ship is not a body that we know. It's not the causal body. It's the light formed by all of this. And it's a vehicle. It's a vehicle that in the case of the extraterrestrial brothers and sisters, we can see it in the heavens, in the sky. And by forming this ship, we have a vehicle with many more possibilities than with our own vehicles, because our subtle bodies, have a certain distance that they can frequent in this inner space. But a ship, if we already have a small ship, is a vehicle, is an instrument that can get in touch with areas of the space and vibrations in this inner space that our bodies, normal bodies, these bodies that we have in our constitution, cannot reach. So it's very important to be conscious of this work with the hierarchies in this way. But for that, it would need that we stop doing these things for our own benefit. No? So sometimes we do things for our own benefit, for our own evolution, for our own growth, for our own formation, and etc. We are on a different stage now. Then on this stage we're being used, we're being included, and we have our own free will, very linked together with this, very well organized with this, very integrated with this, and we can reach the construction of this small body that we call ship, and that it has a consistency and has possibilities greater than our bodies. But because inside our bodies we cannot take a group, for example, because each person has its own body. But inside a ship, but inside a consciousness of light, we can include groups of beings and take them and conduce them to experiences and contacts and levels of consciousness that for them would be of a lot of progress, of a lot of evolution. So with this body ship, with this ship, we can penetrate areas of the inner space that are not from this planet, depending on the consistency of these ships and depending on the contact that we make with certain hierarchies. That is something that starts in our process, that starts happening to us when the body of light is acting, because the body of light has a limit to how much it can do, and the ship has many more possibilities. And when we look at the ships, and it looks like they're things of other worlds, but each one of us has the possibility to build its own ship, and each one of us can be using our own ship and then working in a greater way. This is all open to new humanity. This is about to happen, or it's already happening with some people, or is being prepared to happen. There was a time when we would go to Erx or to Aurora, and there's a lot of contact with these lights. There were lots of lights that even would become material, and they were not extraterrestrial ships. They were bodies, they were lights that represented consciousnesses of beings that were working on those levels. And sometimes they would include inside their ship beings that needed to be treated, beings that needed to travel to get to know other areas of this cosmos that by themselves they could not reach. So this happens through service. This is the way we construct it, through service, with all these conditions in which we were talking and reflecting.